Hi everybody, Professor Gassimi here. In this last component of the lecture, we're going to be going over Homework 0 together. The purpose of Homework 0 is to help you install, configure, and obtain access to all the tools that are going to be required for the remainder of this course. More specifically, this assignment is going to step you through how you obtain access to the online lectures, how you submit your homework assignments, how to ask questions about the homework assignments, how to deploy a simple web application on your machine for development, and how to deploy a live application to the World Wide Web using Google Cloud. So what we're going to do during this tutorial is I'm going to just go through each of the sections one by one, and I'm going to live complete most of them. There's a couple components that I'm going to leave to you on your own, but for the most part, we're going to go through these steps together. So the first step is navigating to the course's YouTube page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this link right here, and you can see a new tab gets open that links to my YouTube page. Now, this YouTube page, if you open it, will have a subscribe button for you as a non-creator. And I would recommend that you subscribe to the channel because, as I mentioned in the previous video, I may not post all of the content on Mondays. It could be posted on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Being subscribed to this channel will give you a notification at the time when the lectures are posted. So I suggest that you subscribe to the channel. Okay, after you've completed that, the next step is for us to access the course Gitlab page. The way you're going to do that is by first navigating to MSU's Gitlab, which I'm showing here. And in your case, you're going to be prompted to sign into Gitlab using your MSU NetID and password. In my case, it's not that way because I'm actually already signed in, so it just takes me straight to my dashboard with a list of my projects. If you're unable to sign into MSU's Gitlab for any reason, please email ithelp@msu.edu and make sure that you CC me on that email. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is access the course's GitLab group. You're going to do that by navigating to this URL, gitlab.msu.edu/CSE477 Spring 2022. Now, in this group, you're going to see, when you're looking at it, two projects. I see multiple projects because as an instructor, I'm part of all of your projects. But in your case, you should have two projects. One is the course materials project, and the other is a project with your NetID. Let's go ahead and pull up the course materials project together so that you see what it is and how to access it through this UI. Okay, I type in course materials in this little search, and you can see I can click here and get access to it, right? Please make sure you have both the course materials as well as your a project with your NetID, by the way. If you don't have one of those two or two of those two, you need to let us know sooner rather than later. Okay, so once you're in this course repository, you should take a couple of minutes to explore it and get familiar with it. It's pretty straightforward from a layout perspective. It basically consists of a set of documents and code that you're going to need to complete assignments in the course and to learn more about when things are due, how to get help, and so on. This README document gets automatically displayed as it does in any Git repository. And really it contains 4 items that I want to take you through that are going to be pertinent both at the beginning of the semester now, but also as we go through the semester together. The first of these is the syllabus. So I'm going to click this and open it. And what you can see on this syllabus is it's a lot of what we already discussed in the previous lecture. I speak about where you can get access to the course materials, a description of the course, our objectives, the prerequisites, our assignments and grading policy, and additional information on cloud credits, academic misconduct, sharing and commercialization, and disruptive behaviors. I do encourage you to read through this syllabus here at the start of the semester to make sure you understand what is expected of you and what some of the greater policies are in the class. Okay, so that's the first one. That was the syllabus. There's 3 more links. Let's go through the second one, which is the course calendar. This course calendar is something that we actually showed in the start of the slide deck in the previous component of this lecture. What it basically contains is for each week in the course, for example, the first week, we're going to provide a set of lecture videos, and these will contain hyperlinks. They don't right now, but they will. And it will also contain hyperlinks to assignments. In this case, homework 0, which is what we're going through together right now. You could click this, and as I'll show you, it will open up this same homework 0 document that we're going through on the left, right? Here's the YouTube bit, here's the Gitlab bit, and so on. Okay, great. As time goes on, if you check this repository, I'm going to be making pushes to it, which will update the lecture videos, readings, and anything else that's relevant for each week of the course as we step through the semester. Okay, great. So that's the course calendar. There's 2 more links here. There's assignments and assignment help. So let's first open up assignments. Although these will be posted in the calendar, I imagine that you will want to visit this assignments page so that you can get access in one place to a list of all the assignments. There's 5 of them in total. We're doing the first one together today. And when they're due and when they are released. So I provide in this table a high-level overview of the goal of the assignment and a link to a requirements doc. That's again the same thing that we're looking at here on the left. Subsequent assignments will have also their own requirements docs that you'll be able to click to get specific instructions on what you're expected to complete in order to accomplish the assignment. The assignments also come with a rubric that you can gain access to. Let's click this one and take a look. You can see here that this particular assignment, we're going to check for 2 things. One, did you push your homework to the course repo, your personal repo? And was the homework survey submitted with a functional service URL? As we go through the assignment here on the left, it's going to become pretty clear what both of these mean. So don't worry about these quite yet. Okay, so this is the assignments piece. We also, within this tab, speak about the 2 things that you'll have to submit for every assignment. That is relevant code to the course GitLab repository, as well as a homework form that contains a link to your live web application. Again, we're going to take you through that a little bit towards the end of this particular assignment. There are also grading considerations that the TAs will keep in mind as they go through and look at your materials. Okay, the last item here is the Assignments Help tab. And this tab contains some information on the teaching team. So you can see I'm here in the first row. I'm your instructor. We've got my email, the fact that my office hours are available by request, and a link to a Zoom meeting room where you can access me if we set up a time to meet. We also have the names, email addresses, and office hours of the 3 teaching assistants in this class. If you want to access them during an office hour session, you can reach them from 4 to 8 p.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, respectively, at each of these 3 Zoom links that you see attached to their particular row. The TAs also have particular days when they take primary responsibility for answering your questions posted as GitLab issues. We're going to cover that in a minute. But you can see which of the TAs is responsible for answering questions on any given day by looking at this table. The 3 steps that you should take to get help, if you need help, are to first post an issue to the course GitLab, which we'll do together in a minute, using some appropriate labels, and then if needed, attend office hours of the teaching assistants, and finally to contact me if all else fails. The way you should structure your GitLab issues, or which are basically the questions you post on the online form, are to provide a lot of details. So summarize the problem you're encountering, give us the steps that are needed to reproduce it, tell us what you were thinking you were going to get and what you actually got, give us logs, screenshots, all that stuff so that we can help you when the time comes. Okay, so with these 2 done, you have observed everything that's within the course GitLab repo from a content perspective. Once again, what you'll want to come here and check on is assignments, where new links will be posted to assignments, but they'll also be referenced in the course calendar every week. So these are sort of the 2 places that you'll want to go every week. And the assignment help, you might want to visit it whenever you need help with the assignments. Great, so we've explored the course repository, so let's move on. The next thing that we're going to want to do together is to clone the course materials and the personal course repository. So let's do the first of these, which is cloning the course materials. We have that open here in the web browser on the right-hand side. And as with any Git repository, you can get information on how to clone it by coming up here to the top, clicking this blue button for clone, and it gives you the various options that are used in order to get a copy of this code and the README and everything else that accompanies it on your local machine. In the tutorial on the left, I am doing it with HTTPS, which will require you to provide your GitLab username and password, but I personally prefer to use SSH and just keep my username and password there, so that's how I'm going to do it. Here on the left-hand side, the bottom left to be specific, I've got a terminal open. And so let me go ahead and type in git clone, and then type in, or paste rather, that URL that we see on the right-hand side. And if I git clone that, you can see that it says that it's successfully completed. And sure enough, if I show you here on my right-hand side, my documents folder, I now have this course materials here, which contains the homework, the documents, the README, everything we saw in that original repository that we were just looking at online. Okay, so we're good to go there. Well, the next thing that we're going to want to do is clone our personal course repository. So that's going to be the same here, except instead of course materials, it's going to be your net ID. So in my case, that's GOSM3. Okay, I cloned that, and as you could see on the right-hand side, I now have a copy of that repo. And it's empty. It should be empty because I've not done anything with it yet. We're going to do that over the course of the semester. You'll be filling up this personal course repo with your homework assignments. Okay, great. So we've gotten through this cloning the course materials and your personal course repository. Now let's move on to the next one. Let's practice replying to GitLab issues. So when we were here on this course page, right, we looked through all the content, but one thing we didn't go through was issues. So if you're looking at this page in its fuller form, let me open it up here, you'll see that on the left-hand side, there is an Issues tab that you can click. You may want to bookmark this tab if you anticipate needing to ask questions frequently. It's up to you, of course, but I suggest that you do that. And here, once you're in this Issues tab, you will get to see a list of all questions, if you will, that have been posted. And these questions contain topical labels. So for example, you can see here we have this HW0 homework 0 label and a topic that was posted, homework 0 introduce yourself. Okay, so we can click through this homework 0 introduce yourself, and this is just like any other forum. There is somewhere where we can write things that we'd like to submit as responses to this topic. And then we can, I can type in some stuff here and then click comment as an example, and it will paste it. There's other things that you can do here that are probably relevant when you're asking questions. You can call out particular individuals. So if you wanted to call out me, you could do @GOSM3, which is my net ID. And then I would be tagged on anything that happens in this note. If you wanted to call out one of our TAs, you might, for example, call Ali, and then Ali would get an email notification that you've posted this question. As I mentioned before, the TAs will be keeping on top of these questions on their own. But if for whatever reason you don't get a response, it might not be a bad idea to actually tag them in a question here on GitLab. Okay, so this sort of gives you an idea about how to respond to things that have been posted on GitLab. Now let's go ahead and look at creating and deleting a GitLab issue. So let's come back to the issues page here. And you can see that on the top, there is this blue button that says new issue. So let's say I have a question about the class. I could come here, say new issue, and do, I don't know, question about homework 1, Google Cloud, which we're going to be going over in a minute. And then, let's say I type some text in here. I would come here, I'd put a label. In this case, it's homework 0. And now I have the basic components I need in order to post my question. If I had a particular TA that I was interested in answering this, let's say it was, I don't know, Chris Chen, or maybe all three of them, Chris, Ali, and, let's say me. I could create an issue here and it would send an email notification to all three of us. I'm not going to do that so we don't bother the TAs just for the sake of this little tutorial. I'm going to create this issue, and what you're going to see now is the issue is created. In fact, if I come back to this issues page, you can see it. It's right here, popped all the way up to the top, along with the number of replies and when it was last updated. Okay, it has the same homework 0 tag that we posted. So let's say that you post this or you get a response to this and you feel like the question is solved. What you do is you come to this question and you click close issue here on the top right. And that's it. The issue is closed. If you come back to the issues page, it will be gone. Okay, so that covers how you create and delete an issue in GitLab. Now let's talk about Google Cloud. As part of this course, we're really lucky that we received some educational credits from Google Cloud, $50 specifically, that will help get you started with using the cloud and deploying web apps you develop in this course. What you'll have to do as a first step is request access to the educational credits. And you do that by visiting this URL that I'm showing on the left. And you're going to put in your first name, your last name, and your net ID right here in this box. You'll click submit, and then you're going to get a confirmation email that will be sent to you with a coupon code that you can redeem as soon as you get it. One condition before you can redeem your credits is that you will need a Google account that you use for accessing Google Cloud. Many of you may have this, some of you may not. So I've put a link to how to create a Google account right here, accounts.google.com/signup, which you can click to access. Once you have a Google account, you'll be able to redeem your coupon, and that's it. You'll have $50 in Google Cloud credits. Now, once you have those $50 in Google Cloud credits, you're going to want to enable billing on your Google account. So you're going to come here to the Google Cloud console. I'm going to click and open it. I'm already logged in, so it's not prompting me to do any login. And I'm going to navigate to Google Cloud's storage page. And when you navigate to this page, again, it's not going to show up here, but for all of you, if this is your first time using Google Cloud, there's going to be a banner somewhere towards the top here that's going to say, hey, you don't have billing enabled. Click this button to enable it. You'll click that, and then you'll select as the billing account your billing account for education. That's the $50 in cloud credit that you have as part of this class. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is install Google Cloud's SDK. You can follow this link right here, and it will provide you with a OS-specific guide for installation of Google Cloud's SDK. If you're using Windows, you click this one. You're using Linux, you click this one. If you're using Mac OS like I am, you click this one. And the instructions are obviously different for different systems, but the command line operations are the same. Okay, so once you get through this step, I think the rest of the components for the tutorial will follow. So after you have Google Cloud installed, you'll run gcloud init from your command line. This will set up the cloud. It's important that they're going to ask you for a project, and you should name that project CSE 477-spring-2022. Not because your project has to be named that technically, but because a lot of what I'm going to provide in the tutorials later will assume your project is named this. So you might have to, if you choose not to use this, you might have to make some changes on your own. Okay, with that, your Google Cloud should be set up. And so now you're going to focus on Docker. Okay, Docker is a containerization tool. It helps set up the environment for each of the homework assignments. Basically, every homework you get, I'm going to give you a Docker file that you're going to use to build a container. Once you have that container built, you will be able to run your web application within it with hopefully very little IT kind of monkeying around or effort. And that's what makes Docker useful. Of course, I don't expect here at the start of the semester that you'll know anything about Docker. I'm not going to cover what a Docker file is quite yet. Toward the end of the semester, we're going to go through that. So for now, just understand that it's going to save you from a lot of the annoying system configuration work that sometimes pops up in computer science courses. Okay, so we're going to install Docker by visiting this address. Okay, I clicked it, and you can see that depending on what my OS is, there's a separate set of instructions and objects that I download. So depending on what your OS is, you can click here. Okay, and with that, you've got everything that you need set up, if you followed those instructions, to actually do the deployment of a very simple, bare bones kind of web application. So let's go through that next. The first thing you're going to want to do is copy Homework Zero's materials into your personal course repository. You can do this from the command line, or you can do it using your file browser. So let me pull the file browser over here. You can see I've got the course materials here, and I've got my personal course repository here under my documents folder. So I'm going to take the personal course repository, I'm going to copy the homework, and I'm going to paste it into GAUSM3. So now, oops, I've got to drag it in. There we go. Okay, great. So now I have a copy of this homework directory in GOSM3, and it contains homework 0. Perfect. So now that we have homework 0 there, what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to that directory on the command line. So where am I now? I am in that upper level directory documents. So let me go ahead and change directory to GOSM3, homework 0. Okay. So now I'm in this homework 0 directory that you see on the right from my command line terminal. What I'm going to do is now use the docker compose command. I can copy paste this to create a container with the contents I need. This is going to take a little bit of time to run depending on your system. It could take a couple of minutes. It could take 1 minute. I can't predict exactly how long it will take for you, but just be patient as it comes together and understand that the container, once you've built it for a given homework, is not something you will have to rebuild. You might stop it or start it, but you won't have to undergo this rebuilding process every time you want to test your application. It's only once at the start. Okay, great. Looks like we're done. Okay, so notice that when this thing completed, it put some text out into the screen. It said it's serving Flask App, and it said that it was running it at this address. This is actually an internal address in the container, which is bound to your what's called localhost. We're going to describe again that in detail. The goal of this assignment is just to make sure your development ecosystem is set up, and then some of the nuances of that you'll come to understand in the coming weeks. The easiest way for you to test that everything's working is to actually try to access the local web application through your browser. So you do that by going and visiting on your system 0.0.0.0:8080. And when I do that, you can see, hey, I pull up a very, very simple web page that says, hello world, my favorite number is 25. Okay, that's great. Well, launching this web application here and being able to see it is great, but ultimately what you'll be doing for a lot of the homework assignments will require editing these web applications, and you'll need a way to do that so that you can quickly make tests, learn from your mistakes, and so on. So I've enabled this sort of skeleton Flask application in the container to be editable in a live fashion. And so what we're going to do together is we're going to open up the main component of the Flask application together. We're going to make some edits to it, and then we're going to see things change here on the right-hand side. So let's do that together real quick. Okay, moving this over for a minute, you can see that within the Flask app, we have routes.py. So I'm going to open that, and it pops up right over here. So here is routes.py. I'll actually put it here on the left so that we can have this and the browser going at the same time. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Now you should be able to see both. Okay, perfect. So what this little Flask application does is it returns some HTML. HTML is a language that browsers read that tells them how to display and style content. Okay, in this case, we want some text that says hello world, and then we want to display something about the favorite number using a variable in Python called count. So one thing I can do is I can come here and I can change this number to, for example, 30. And if I save this and refresh this page, which I use with Control or Command R, you can also refresh the browser using this button if you want over here, you get 30. So basically, as I make changes here, I make this 60, 6EEE or whatever. Yeah, let's put 688. And then I refresh this, I get 688 showing up here. Okay, that's great. So we can make edits to this piece. We can add some random text here, save it, and we're going to get that text showing up here. Of course, as you're working on a web application development, you're going to introduce bugs. You're going to make mistakes. We all do as we code. One mistake I frequently make is I get the white space wrong when I'm coding in Python. So I might put an extra space here. Now, what this application is configured to do is it will report to you that there is an error as opposed to kind of catastrophically shutting down and making you restart things. So then you could follow the stack trace that's shown here. You can come over here, correct the error, come back, refresh things, and voila, you have a functional application once again. Okay, so with this, you've now seen how to edit the web application live. We've gone through that. And you've seen how to debug the errors live. With these two things, I think any of the following homework assignments, you should have the baseline tools you need in order to do your development activities. So the last thing that's left is to take this version of the application, which is currently only available on our machines, our personal machines, and to deploy it to the World Wide Web. You do that using these two commands, gcloud build submit and gcloud run deploy. Okay, I'm going to take these, and in another tab here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run them. Actually, I need to navigate to the right directory, so just give me one moment. So let's come to homework 0. Yeah, we want to be in the homework 0 directory when we run this. Okay. So we have gcloud build submit, and I want to note that when the first time you do this, you're going to get blasted with a bunch of questions about enabling service. Say yes to those requests. They're just turning on all the necessary subcomponents of the cloud that are required in order to actually launch one of these. When you do gcloud build submit, it takes a little bit of time in order to get this submitted, but the good news is that you're only going to submit and deploy your application to the web once, and exactly once, when you're kind of done developing it for the purpose of the homework. So when you finished all of your work and you finalize it and you've tested it on your local machine and you're sure that's what you want to show us and the rest of the world, that's when you're going to submit and deploy it. Okay, so it looks like the build submission was successful, as indicated by the message down here. So now let's run the second command, deploy. So I paste this into the command line, and sure enough, it prompts me for a service name. It's asking me, hey, what's the service name here? What's in the parentheses is the default. I suggest you keep the default by just pressing enter. It's going to ask you for which region you want to deploy it in. That's the second question. So you can see they've got, starting from number 1 up here, they've got Asia East all the way down to 30, which is cancel. In our case, we want something that's close to us because it'll make it faster to fetch it. So let's use US Central 23. You could technically, by the way, use any of these, but I suggest just using 23. Okay, and that's it. So the last thing this spits out is a service URL. This is the location of your live web application. So you see this 0.0.0.0:8080. This is only available on your local machine. But if I come here and I paste this one in, if you gave this address, it's the same application, right? If I gave this address to your friend or a family member, they could see your web application running live at this address. We're going to talk a little bit later in the course about how you get a domain name that's a little more beautiful than this, of course. But for now, all you need to know is that you've successfully launched your web application to the cloud for the world to see. And in fact, the course staff will be using this service URL as part of our grading requirements. So let's speak about that next. Well, actually, before we speak about that, let me give some notes about Docker. There's 3 things I want to mention about Docker images. They can get a little bit on the larger side. And so as you conclude a homework assignment and are moving to the next one, I suggest when you've completely wrapped things up and you're done, you prune the image from your system. It will clear up quite a bit of space on your disk that you might want to use for subsequent homework assignments. Of course, if you've got a lot of space on your machine, this won't be an issue. You won't have to worry about it, but I'm putting this here just in case you hit a space issue. And also, if your container, for whatever reason, you need to stop it or you want to start it because it stopped inadvertently, you can use these 2 commands that I'm showing here. Okay, great. Last thing to talk about is the submission of the assignment. So there's two things you're going to submit. The first one is the code, and the second one is that service URL. So let's start with the code. Coming back to this, I'm going to go ahead and stop my, my container. Okay, so I've stopped it, as you can see there. And the next thing I'm going to be interested in is submitting this code. So I'm going to come up here to the top level of the directory for my folder. So I'll do run pwd. You can see I'm in documents, and here's my net ID. That's that main folder. And I'm going to run git add, and then git commit -m, submitting homework 0. Okay, and then I'm going to do git push. Okay, perfect. So I might be a suspicious guy, so I might say, I don't believe that actually worked, and I might want to come here and check on the actual GitLab website. So let's do that together. I'm going to come here to CSE 477 Spring 2022 and put my net ID, which is GOSM3. And hey, look, sure enough, there it is. Homework 0 was submitted 27 seconds ago. So I have the time that these things were submitted, and it has all the content that was there. Okay, perfect. Great, so we've done this first part. We submitted the assignment from our personal course repository, and we checked it, that it was actually uploaded online. Good to go. All that's left now is to do this submission of the homework 0 service URL. That's coming back to here. That's this URL, remember, where the application's actually running live. So we can click this link. We're going to open up a Google form. In this Google form, it's going to ask me for some information like, who are you? What's your net ID? And then I'm going to paste the service URL in here and answer a couple of other questions about the assignment. And once you've done that, congratulations, you've done it. You've launched successfully a web application, not only in your local environment through a container, but to the cloud. And you should have absolutely everything you need from a tools perspective to do all of the assignments for the remainder of the semester.